Hey, everybody, it's Jeremy Sutton, your host of the Daily Self-Publishing Podcast. Welcome to today's show with my newest guest, Sandy Forster. Sandy is the author of the multiple international award-winning book, How to Be Wildly Wealthy Fast. It is also banned in China, so 1.3 billion people will not read this book. She went from welfare to millionaire, and her passion is helping others do the same. Sandy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jeremy.
Yes. Oh, I can't wait to talk. So, Sandy, you did some really cool stuff with your book. But first, I want to just let you tell us a little bit about your business, what you do, and why you decided to write a book in the first place.
Okay, so why I decided to write a book? Well, a little bit of the backstory is I moved to Queensland with my parents, my brother and sister, and it's the most northern, or one of the most northern states of Australia, nice and warm. We moved from the cold to the warm, and I started a new school, met a boy when I was 16. We went out for 10 years, got married. When I had a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old, we got divorced. And then suddenly what I'd been doing as my kind of, you call it a hobby business. I was designing and manufacturing swim and gym wear, and I would sew in my garage all winter and then find an empty shop down by the beach in the summer and sell it all for cash money, and then would use that cash to maybe put in a swimming pool one year or go on a holiday another year or buy some furniture or do landscaping, whatever. But it was just kind of play money. And suddenly, after I divorced, that had to become my entire income and pay for everything, which it didn't. And so I found myself going backwards very fast. And I ended up $100,000 in debt and on welfare. And at the time, welfare was around, in US dollars, about $7,500 a year.
Wow.
So yeah, so it doesn't help you. I mean, it helps you a tiny bit, but really I was just going backwards every day and really struggled around money and tried to do what everyone else would do. I would, go to seminars and read books and try and learn everything I could about the practical side of money. And I did lots of things. The money that I ended up with my property settlement, I put into buying a piece of real estate and ended up selling that and losing money, even in a hot market. I put some money into some shares and stocks and watched them go just down to nothing. I put some money into an investment and watch it disappear. I put money into a network marketing company and watch that just self-implode. So every practical thing I did not work. So I was like, there's got to be something more. And that's when I discovered that mindset is a huge piece of the puzzle. So I really dived into the mindset side, like the positive thinking. And then I took it one step further when I discovered the law of attraction. And that completely changed everything for me. So when I discovered the law of attraction, I understood that, yes, there was a scientific side, there was like the neuroscience, but then there was this kind of metaphysical woo-woo hippie side, which has now been proven by science to be more real than just woo-woo. And I completely just dived into it, fell in love with it, just created all these different processes and exercises. And I went from welfare to millionaire. So, my passion now is helping other, particularly women, but other people around the world to rewire their brain and really open themselves up to attracting abundance and prosperity and success in their life. And my book has been a huge piece of that puzzle.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I think any of us, no matter what, have a story of going from, not where we want to be to where we are. My wife and I started a business and we bought it from somebody and it really wasn't what we thought. And we ended up having to file bankruptcy, which I thought what I would never have to do because never had any, issues with that. And then the guy that we bought the business from sued us, and then the bank sued us. And so like that was our 2018-19. So like 2020 was amazing for us. But I love how you didn't stay down. You didn't let that $7,000 a year define who you were going to be. You used it for what it was meant to do, to help you out of a bad situation. And you just said, look, I can't stay here. I have to go up. And you did that, and you went up, and now you're helping people. So talk about like why you're doing all this, and then you decide to write a book. What made you decide to write this book?
I guess because during that time, I also, when I was still struggling, I put a training course on my credit card to become a life coach. And I don't even know why now, because I look back and think, who am I to be a life coach? Like at that time, I was $100,000 in debt and on welfare. I was really stressed and frustrated and scared about where my life was going. I was a crummy mummy because of all that frustration, I was yelling at my kids. I was like so disorganized and like, it was like, exactly, who am I to be a life coach? But I understood that coaching wasn't about being the perfect person and then showing people how to be that perfect person. It was about, if you do the right training, you understand how to ask the right questions and draw things out of your client. So I realized that even though I was, didn't have the perfect life, I could be a coach. And I love the idea of working in the personal development industry. So I started coaching people, and I realized very quickly I did not like coaching one-on-one. I was too disorganized for that, trying to be somewhere at a certain time for one person and then the next person, and remembering who was who and where you're up to with each person. My brain couldn't cope with that. So I started doing groups. And what I found was when I brought in the things that I knew about the law of attraction, people loved it and they got so much more results so much quicker. And so I really started focusing on that. So it started off as a 4-week teleseminar. So once a week for 4 weeks, I'd get online and it'd be, back then we didn't have webinar. It was purely online over the phone. So everyone over the phone. And I would teach for an hour every week for 4 weeks. And then I'd bring in more stories and more examples. And it was 6 weeks and then 8 weeks and 10 weeks and 12 weeks. And at 12 weeks, I thought, I can't keep doing this because the course is getting longer and I'm charging more, but I want to reach more people. It was like, okay, I'm going to turn it into a book. So I took all my notes from teaching those teleseminars and used that as the basis of my book. And the thing that I did inside my book to make it really kind of work for me was, instead of having long chapters about something, I've got probably about 50 chapters, but they're all really short. And I found that just by doing that, I have so many people, sometimes I hold live events and people buy my book before they come to the live event. I had one girl buy my book at the live event, and the next day she said to me, oh my gosh, I started reading your book last night and the chapters are so short. I just thought, I'll just read this one. I'll just read the next one. She said, I read the entire book. I stayed up till about 2 o'clock in the morning reading the entire book, couldn't put it down. So short chapters have really worked for me. So that's how I wrote the book. It was just based on live, calls that I were doing with people.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love that. There's a little bit of self-preservation in there too, because like we can't just keep doing these hourly calls every week for 52 weeks. So, yeah. And then let's go reach everybody except for China. So I love that. So you did some really cool things. We were talking about this before the interview to promote your book. Talk about, you said book competitions early on were really pivotal in how you marketed your book and launched your book. So let's talk about some of those book competitions you were in. How did you get in them? How did that help you? Things like that.
Competitions is something that I love to go in because I think, and particularly when you're starting out, you kind of feel like, well, who am I? And so one of the things you can do is go in competitions of any sort. So I originally started going in business competitions. And, the thing about competitions, I think that most people don't understand is competitions are kind of like a business in and of its own. So the people that run the competitions usually charge you to go in the competition, and that's their business. And so anyone can go in a competition. You can nominate yourself and go in it. And so I won a lot of international awards in business competitions. But then I thought, well, why not take my book and enter that in competitions? So basically I just Googled book competitions and saw what came up and saw what I was eligible to enter. And then, just entered. And quite often it's really just a matter of, sometimes it's just writing up a quick little, something about your book. Quite often it's sending them a PDF or actually posting them the book. But for the one, I put How to Be Wildly Wealthy Fast in the, the Body, Mind, Spirit Awards of Europe. Uh-huh. And I won that award in 3 categories. I won in one category, and I think I came runner-up in another 2. So yeah, it was really cool. And it was just a matter of Googling what book awards are out there, because some book awards will only take books that are written at a certain time, like it's got to be published within the last year or so. Some awards will only take them from a certain area. So just Google book awards and see what's out there and see what suits your own circumstances.
Oh, that's amazing. So you're in Australia, but you won a book award in Europe.
Yeah.
I think I think that seems like some, I don't know. I'm not going to say it seems like common sense because you just Googled book
Yeah.
competitions and you found them. So I love that. I love the resourcefulness, and I know we probably you Googled something right before we started tonight, and I think it's awesome. But I mean, just that one little bit of effort to Google something and you won an award that,
And then the PR that I drummed up after that, obviously I put it on my social media, I put
sure,
it on my website. Any promotions I do, I say my book won this award. I got written up in the local newspaper. So, any type of anything that happens with my book, I always make sure that I don't just be the only one that knows about it. I
yeah.
spread the word because, again, it just builds your credibility and builds that, that sort of know, like, and trust factor with potential clients and potential readers.
Sure, absolutely. I love that. You didn't keep it to yourself. So I really love there's a Bible verse that says, don't let the right hand know what the left hand's doing when you do things for other people. However, in business, that's not a good thing to do. Like I said, when you won that award, you could have just been like, oh, that's great. I love this. But no, you wrote this book to help people, to grow your business, to reach further into the world. Yeah, let people know about it. What did you do? You talked about you had it in the newspaper. Did you just call all the local newspapers and say, hey, my book won an award. Do you want to write a story? How did that look?
I actually wrote the press release. So I wrote exactly and pretty much an article. So that's what I know they're called press releases, but
Sure.
really, if you write a press release that is an article, quite often they'll just take that because they're busy. I won't say they're lazy, but they're busy and they just grab it and then put it in the paper like it is. So yeah, I just wrote the press release and I just looked at, again, Googled who was close and who might potentially be interested. And the great thing about the media is the media loves the media. So if you try and go big to start with, they usually don't want to know about you. But if you go for your local free paper and try and get something in there, quite often you'll get it. And then the other paper for your area that's bigger, that might be a paid paper, they see that you've done something, and then they will potentially do it. So it's really easy to get more media the more media you have. So start really small where you probably can't go wrong. And when you get it, put it on your website. Because if people go to my website, wildlywealthy.com, I think I've got a media page, and on there is every bit of media that I have, been able to gather over the years. And the media, as I said, media loves the media. And if they see you've been in things, even if it's a local paper to start with, then someone bigger might want it, and then someone even bigger might want it, and then it just goes on and on.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a guy, Kamanzi Constable, and his wife Cindy, who teach people how to pitch to publications like Forbes, Entrepreneur, and things like that. And I know you got published in a women's magazine. We'll talk about that in a second. But one of the great things about that is anytime you look at someone's social media or website, if you see featured on ABC, CBS, Fox News, CNN, and then those are all the big names here, and obviously, I don't know what the stations are there in Australia, but if you see that, or you see featured in Men's Health or Women's Health or whatever, well, automatically I think, okay, this is somebody who is an expert in their field, and it
Yeah,
just gives you that
exactly.
credibility. So I love that.
Totally.
Media loves media. That's
Yeah.
great for our audience, guys. If you're listening, just media does love the media. So we talked about you won the competition, you Googled how to even get in that, you got stuff in the newspaper, you started out small, working your way up to bigger newspapers. Tell us about the women's magazine that you got published in it and what that turned into and how that helped your business.
Well, one of Australia's leading women's magazines, um, they were interested because The Secret came out, and my book had been out for a couple of years before The Secret. And The Secret, like for those that don't know, have been under a rock for the last 10 years, um, is based on the law of attraction, and it has become like the world's leading, I guess, personal development publication or book. And
Okay.
so the magazine was obviously wanting to do a story on, The Secret. And so they actually, at the time, I think, were Googling, and they found me. And I actually contacted them and said, I'd be interested in being part of something. This is what I do. And The Secret's the, world's most amazing, at the time, it wasn't even a book, it was just a DVD. And anyway, as it turned out, they flew their editor up to me because they're in a different state, flew their editor to me. We talked about The Secret. They did a 2-page article on The Secret and me, Aussie's, what was it, Oprah's Aussie Secret. And they had pictures of Oprah and they had pictures of Nicole Kidman and all these other famous people that used the law of attraction in their life. And me sitting there looking like I'm Oprah's best friend. But from there, they decided that they would let me have a column in the magazine for, I think I had about 6 or 7 columns, and they did a write-up about my book. So, and that would never have happened if I didn't have my own book, because a book gives you the type of credibility that, an ebook may not, or even an amazing course may not, or an incredible seminar. Doesn't matter what else you have, a book, particularly a physical book, is just mind-blowing for getting your foot in the door and having that credibility, not just amongst potential clients and customers, but amongst the media as well.
Absolutely. I mean, how awesome is that to be on the same page as Nicole Kidman and Oprah? That couldn't have hurt your business any, obviously. And then, you said something really cool, Sandy, is I don't look at, so I think I didn't tell you this. I had a call right before this and I said, I have on my Kajabi app on my phone, I have about 10 or 15 online courses that I've bought in the last 3 years. And the person said, well, you must be, you're just cataloging courses. And that's basically what I did, because I've only probably completed about 5% of all of it. But those people that I've bought seminars from and online courses, they are experts and I see them as such. But when you have a book, then that's just even more to me. Like, that is the pinnacle of being an authority.
Totally. I know. I mean, you could have a course that is 100 times more than what you could put in a book, but you publish a book and you're just seen more as the expert, as the authority.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if it's a good book. If it's a crappy book, then it's you're shot. So to all you book bosses out there listening, I want to see what Sandy did. She took that author initiative. Everything that has happened for your book and your business, to me, just in this short conversation, is because you took the initiative. You took the initiative to Google the awards and the competitions. You took the initiative to contact the newspaper, to contact the article or the magazine, and all that just yielded these amazing benefits for you and your business and for the people you serve. And I don't want to tread lightly on the people you serve part of that, because that's really when you have a servant mindset, which I know you have, and that was my very first podcast, was called the Servant PT. I'm a physical therapist podcast. So that's my mindset, is servant leadership. And so when you have that mindset, you truly, yes, we need money to live and survive, and we don't want to be living on the beach, and fighting, rats for our meal every day, but we want to serve people. And that's what growing a business like you have does. You're allowed to serve more people. So I love that you went out and you just did that. You're like, hey, I need to call these people. Hey, let's look over here. I think that's really cool that you did that.
If you don't do that, then what happens is you might have a great book, but all those people that could benefit from your message, from your tips, your story, they're never going to see it. So you've got to be proactive. And I think I really learned that from Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I used to fly to the States because he used to hold mega events 3 times a year. And I would fly to the States, usually for the weekend. I'd fly there on Friday and fly home on Sunday back to Australia. But I did it because he had great information. He was so inspiring and he'd sold so many books. It was like, I've got to learn from this guy. And the networking that I would do at his events. He doesn't have them anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, I learned so much from him. And I learned that he always said that your book is your big business card. And so when I wrote my book, I made sure it was written in a way that continually drew people back to my website. So if they read it, there's all these freebies sprinkled throughout the book that support the information in the book. And they've got to come back to my website, got to give me their name and email address, and then they get all the freebies. So it continually grows my list.
Yes, I love that. I'm going to show you. I've just planned that out for another author tonight. Right before we jumped on this call, we came up with her bonuses and everything for her book and her in-book lead magnet. So you're speaking my language. I want to wrap up the last several minutes of the podcast, Sandy. I'd love for you, like, one thing that Tony Robbins says and other people, success leaves clues. Successful people leave clues. So what clues have you picked picked up on that you could, leave our audience to say, hey, these are some things that you can do to make sure that your book is successful and helps grow your business?
I think the main thing is to, like we touched on before, you've got to be proactive. You can't, even if you get a publisher, an actual publisher to publish a book, they're not going to do hardly anything for you. It all comes down to you. So you can write the best book in the world, but if you really want to reach people and change people's lives, you've got to be proactive. And even if you just do one thing a day, like just do something every day that gets your book and you in front of other people. And it could be as simple as, taking a photo of you with your book and putting it on social media and, just sharing a tip, or it could be anything at all. But if you're doing something every day, what happens is you start to get a momentum. So now my book has not only got a momentum, but I've been able to build an entire business around it. So yes, I've got the book, but then I can go deeper and give people even more. And I've created a whole course around that. And, that's created so much money for me. I've been able to create, like, my business based on the book alone has created millions of dollars. So it's like, don't just think of your book as a book. Do what you can every day to get it out there, but then build an entire business around it, and then you'll be set for life.
Oh my goodness, I love that. That is such good advice, and it's something I did a video on a few days ago. Is look at your book as your business. Yes, it is a business card. It's an amazing business card, but look at it as your business, because you can offshoot so many different directions with that book that will bring income in. I love it, and then you don't even care about how much you make on the book, because you're not going to get rich selling a book. Just the book, unless you're, unless you're the guy selling chicken soup for a soul, or the secret, or whatever. But anyway, I love that. I think you've given some amazing tips, and I really just that author initiative that you took to reach out to all these people. And I think too many of us sit back and say, okay, I wrote this amazing book. Now people are gonna see it, and they're not. They're not going to see it unless you're waving a red flag going, here's my book.
Yeah, you got to take action. It makes all the difference. And when you do take action, you're kind of showing the universe that you're serious and you want to get it out there. And then you'll find that opportunities and people and things will be brought to you that will enable you to get the book out there even more. So you've got to do your part in the equation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Show the universe that you're serious, and take action, that law of attraction that you talk about. And people will see, hey, Sandy's serious, Jeremy's serious. Let's talk to them about this. Gosh, I love that. You're so amazing. Sandy, this has been a phenomenal interview. It's late here in the States. You got me fired up. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to sleep tonight, and you're at midday, and you can wind down
Jump
after
in the
this.
pool, yeah.
Yeah, it's not fair. So anyway, thank you so much, Sandy. Where tell us again your website. I know you mentioned it before, but how can people come find out more about you and work with you if they want to?
They just go to wildlywealthy.com.
Love it. Wildlywealthy.com, guys. Book bosses, if you want to learn the law of attraction and how to go from welfare to millionaire, or just learn anything else about Sandy, please go to wildlywealthy.com. Look her up. Sandy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. Please rate, review, and subscribe. For more inspiring conversations like this one, I invite you to join my free Facebook group, Book Boss Tribe. If you're ready to write your book, I want to invite you to book a free call with me or sign up for my free course. You can get both of those at linktree/bookboss.